The following podcast contains spoilers for When Angels Sleep and Bird Box. You have been warned.
Welcome back, everybody, to KFR News Radio. This is your host, Glenjamin Button, here with Miguel Mugusto. And it's super fitting this week because we do have a Spanish movie in this lineup.
Oh, yes, we do. Yes, we do indeed.
¿Cómo está, Miguel?
I almost responded in German. Bien, ¿y tú?
Well, mal. To be honest, mal. It's fine.
I don't even know what that means. I didn't take Spanish.
Pretty sure it's fine.
Okay. How you been, Glenn?
Not bad. I'm finally getting over this fitting cough that I've had.
Yeah. I'm still in the midst of mine.
Well, I'll pass mine on to you. That's what it seems like what happened.
Apparently, over hundreds of miles and the internet, I have gotten sick from you.
That damn virus.
It's that damn virus. All right, so since last week, have you seen any movies that are worth noting, Glenjamin?
I have not. I have been watching the, remember that Castlevania show I was telling you about?
Yeah.
When we first started. I have started to pick that back up a little bit. Watched 2 or 3 episodes this week, but other than that, I haven't watched Jack. Literally, that Robin Williams movie. I haven't watched that movie. Ugh.
That was a terrible joke. I kind of got back into the swing of things and saw a bunch of movies last week. I saw, including the 2 for the episode, I saw 7?
Jeez.
Maybe 6. I saw Holmes and Watson, which may be the first time in my history that I've seen a movie with terrible ratings that deserved the terrible ratings.
Interesting.
Completely, at least. You know, sometimes I can find the silver lining in certain things, but that was just awful.
Yeah, I did want to sit down and watch that. I did a theater walk for it the other day, but I was like, I think it was that one. Yeah. It was like a courthouse scene. I was like, I don't see why it's that bad. And then
it's not without its humor, but it's just, especially with those two, it leaves so much to be desired, and it was awkward. It felt like a bunch of. Well, I mean, it was like a bunch of 50-year-old guys trying to make a movie that teenagers could laugh to.
Yeah.
And they failed miserably.
Sounds about right.
I mean, I'm not a teenager, so maybe teenagers are laughing at it. We'd have to check with them. I'm also curious to see if it was the PG-13 rating. Like, if it was rated R, it would have been funnier, because these two kind of play off each other really well, and with improv, they probably were cursing a lot. Yeah. Anyway, but I also saw Vice, directed by Adam McKay, starring Christian Bale, Amy Adams, Steve Carell, Sam Rockwell. Movie about Dick Cheney.
That guy.
Yeah, it's nominated for 6 Golden Globes, which, you know, if anyone heard me rant about the Golden Globes this year, this one actually kind of deserves it. It was a really good movie. Really depressing because much of it is very true and makes you kind of feel hopeless. But, there we go. There we have it.
I did some theater walks for that one. It really juked me out when they had like a credit scene in the middle of the movie.
Yeah, oh my God.
Walked in for a theater walk, and I'm like, wait, what?
So, yeah, before Dick Cheney even becomes vice president, there's the credits start rolling, you know, like happy ending kind of thing. He's over the hill, and the credits start rolling. This woman behind me, older than me, should have a very clear memory that Dick Cheney becomes vice president, and also know by watching the trailers that in the movie Dick Cheney becomes vice president. She turns to her husband and goes, "Is that the end of the movie?" And her husband goes, No, it's not. I mean, he was kind of rude to her, but she kind of deserved it for asking such a stupid question.
Yeah, I was doing a theater walk, and then I had known it had only been an hour of runtime, and I'm like, wait, what the fuck?
No, it was honestly one of the funniest parts of the movie. I was dying. And the funny thing is that the credits that they use are the credits of the actual movie. Like they say Christian Bale is Dick Cheney and everything. Yeah. So I could kind of see why she was slightly confused, but at the same time, read a room.
Yeah.
And also know a movie called Vice about the vice president should have Dick Cheney become vice president because he was vice president. Anyway.
What else you got?
I also saw Double Indemnity, which is a noir film from 1944 directed by Billy Wilder. And it's widely considered one of the best noir films ever made, and I'd have to agree. It was pretty good. I mean, if you can get past the 1940s misogyny, which is just kind of the times then.
Yeah.
Watch it with the times in mind. It's a very good movie.
I'll have to give it a watch. I like me some noir.
Yeah, it was good. I highly recommend it. Then I saw Welcome to Marwen with Steve Carell, directed by Robert Zemeckis.
I did get to see a little bit of that.
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah,
nothing spectacular. It's kind of sloppy at parts. I wasn't a huge fan of the pacing and the editing, but can't win them all. And then I saw Escape Room, mainly because my doppelganger's in there, Tyler Labine.
Yeah.
And his name is Mike in it, too. So
it was meant to be.
Yeah, it's not like that's a super uncommon name, so it's not like a huge coincidence, but I just thought it was funny. He introduced himself. Was like, "Hi, I'm Mike." I'm like, "Oh," and then he was he was a little like me, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Did he have a bigger role than the trailers actually gave it?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a lot bigger in the movie in general. That movie, it wasn't bad. Like I enjoyed it, but it runs like 20 minutes too long. Like. It has like a perfect ending, and then it just keeps going.
Oh, man.
And I just hate it when movies do that. It felt like they were trying to set it up for a sequel way too hard.
Escape Room 2. Escaping.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty... it could have been completely terrible, but it was a fun movie. I had a good time watching it.
Interesting.
And yeah. So that is all I watched, other than the two movies for, the episode.
I was going to say this episode here.
Yeah.
I was actually planning on seeing two movies this weekend, but never got around to it. The Aquaman and the Bumblebees.
Oh, yeah. I heard Bumblebee is actually pretty good, and I guarantee you it's 100% because Michael Bay has very little to do with it.
Yeah, I think we're actually going to see it after this podcast. We're going to see either Bumblebee or Aquaman. I don't know which one yet. We still haven't decided, but... we're hearing good things about both, at least considering their previous material, that they seem to be better than what the competition is there.
Well, that's good.
Which I have the argument that people are like, oh man, it's better than the rest of the movies. I'm like, there's not really a competition there.
That's not saying much.
Sure, it could be good, but saying it's better than the rest, it's not a competition.
Yeah, that goes for both the Transformers movies and the the current lineup of DC movies, not talking about the Dark Knight or anything, but
the DCEU.
Yeah, you gotta let me know how those are, because I might go see those at some point, but I'm not like
I'm not dreading it. I'm not dreading to go see them, but I kind of do. Yeah, just for the sake of it.
That's good.
But anyway, that's really all I've been up to.
Yeah, same here. So let's get into it, shall we?
Get into it.
Let's start with When Angels Sleep.
Germán, ¿ha salido ya?
Se me está complicando la tarde, cariño. Mi jefe me necesita.
Ya, y tu hija también te necesita. Estás a 500 kilómetros. Venga, sopla.
Voy a coger un coche de la empresa. Cabrón, no se para. ¿Qué le ocurre, caballero? Solo quiero llegar a mi casa y descansar.
Usted no está para conducir.
Si usted quiere arriesgar su vida es cosa suya, pero es un peligro para los demás.
¿Por dónde vas?
Todavía me queda.
Está buena, ¿eh?
Claro, Silvia. Paso, tía.
¡Que me dejes joder! ¡Déjame!
¿Cómo te pillas este gato? Te lo juro, ¿eh?
Silvia.
But yeah, this is a Spanish movie directed by Gonzalo Bendala, which is a great name, and it's about. The IMDb synopsis is pretty short, so I'm going to try to sum it up in my own words. Pretty much this businessman who is away for his daughter's birthday is trying to make it home before his daughter's birthday is over. You know, the party's over and everything, but he's trying to make it home before midnight, essentially. So he drives a long distance back home when he's tired and keeps falling asleep at the wheel. And then he has an accident and hits a woman walking in the street. Or does he? That's the real question. Mm-hmm. And then the worst night of his life unfolds after that.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And what's worse is the IMDb synopsis. I mean, as short as it's literally a sentence. It says a CEO lives the worst night of his life after having a drive accident.
Yeah, and
but
first off,
he's not even a CEO.
He's not a CEO. He's got bosses. He's got people yelling at him, telling him what to do. So he's not a CEO. He's just a businessman. And then having a drive accident, I'm going to just chalk this up to someone who, you know, better than us, has English as a second language.
Yeah.
Because we don't speak any other language, so we can't really hold it against them. But yeah, it's not a very good synopsis. But yeah, let's just dive on into this. What do you have to say about this movie, Glenn?
I'll be honest. I watched this at 4 a.m. Today. No, like I had gotten a good amount of sleep, and this is like the first thing I did. I was like, I'm awake. I might as well do it. I was going to watch it last night, but I didn't. So here we are. It seems to have a 5.4 out of 10 on the IMDb.
Yeah, that's pretty consistent throughout. It's got very in the middle reviews on Heaven of Horror. It's a 2 out of 5. Film Affinity, it's a 5.3 out of 10. IMDb, it's a 5.4 out of 10. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's not even on there. So not enough critics have seen it, which kind of took me off guard. I didn't really find any information about this movie other than it's on Netflix and the synopsis and all that.
It was a real deep find that you got here.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it was in my suggestions for Netflix, so I guess that just goes to show you how Netflix's algorithm works.
But yeah, I didn't really have a problem with this movie to give it like that kind of like an even half score, I guess.
Yeah. I
definitely thought it deserved at least maybe like a 6 or a 7 or so.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe even higher.
I actually really liked this movie. You know, at first I thought it kind of had like a slow start. But one thing, like right off the bat, it establishes the characters like extremely well. You know, right in the first 5 minutes, you know, Herman is you know, he's a pushover. He wants to do right for his family, but he's kind of you know, lets everyone walk all over him. And they have this really nice detail of when he's stuck in traffic. There's a fly in his car, and he like catches it on his finger and then like lets it out at the window. So like it shows that he would not even hurt a fly. And it's done so subtly that like even if you're not looking for something like that, you could probably miss it. And the same thing with the other main character, Sylvia. It's the friend of the woman who gets hit by a car. We're not going to say which car it is. Actually, no, we got spoilers. So yeah, he gets hit by his car. But anyway, it establishes her character really well. You know, she's kind of a troublemaker in her family.
She's a teenager.
She's a teenager, but like I mean, to the point where she pulls a knife on her family, like not even.
Yeah, she's a rebellious teen. Like she's rebellious teen.
Overly rebellious, and you know her friends are pieces of shit. Not to say that what happens to them is deserved, but they are kind of pieces of shit.
Yeah.
And I was just really impressed with how, you know, the characters were established, and yeah, like you said, like I really don't understand what all the hate about this movie is.
It does not deserve a score that low. Definitely higher. I mean, like I wasn't bored at all with this movie, even at 4 a.m. when I was freaking watching it.
Yeah. I mean,
that low is pretty interesting.
My guess is that it's not your typical thriller horror movie where it's all just like, you know, pounding music, just kind of drilling the point that it's supposed to be tense in your head. Like it's a very quiet movie. Yeah, it's a very quiet thriller drama where it builds tension without music. In my mind, I thought I realized like 20 minutes in that there was little to no music, and it was just crazy intense pretty much the entire time. If I had to nitpick. The only thing that really kind of bothered me, but it makes sense. But the thing that bothered me is that the character of Sylvia, who's running from the businessman because he thinks he's trying to kill her.
Yeah.
She's not listening to reason, but she's also high out of her fucking mind. So it makes sense, but it does kind of get a little old after a while.
Yeah, considering like at least half the movie, he's chasing this girl around and
Yeah,
she's just not listening.
And until the end, you think he is trying to help her, and I do believe that he is trying to help her.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to take her to the hospital. Her friend had already died. He's trying to take the dead girl to the hospital too, because they don't have cell phones reception. But he's also there's the element where he was pulled over for swerving at night, and the police forced him to stay at a hotel, but he left the hotel. So there is that element that he's not sure what's going to happen to him. So I kind of feel like he's going to dump him and run.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in his mind.
Yeah, there's a hell of a lot going on in his mind. So he's not being completely honest to his wife, which is why Sylvia overhears a conversation, and it makes her suspicious. And it's because he's running through things in his mind, like how will he get in trouble? Because he did kind of not listen to police officers, and
he didn't listen to police. There's a possibility he ran somebody over.
Yeah, I mean, it is manslaughter.
Yeah,
it is. I don't know what it would be in Spain.
Is.
In America, it would be manslaughter. I don't know what the laws in Spain would be. Well, no, they have different rules with stuff like that, with like neglect and stuff.
Well, he did explain it. I don't know if he explained it correctly, but he did explain it to Sylvia at one point.
Well, yeah, that's what makes me second guess myself, because he's still trying to help. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, in other countries, insurance was more corrupt and like they could get people off of things. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but he is just saying, nothing comes of it. I'm not going to get in trouble. It was an accident, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
She also doesn't know that the police had stopped him before, though. And then
also in her mind, coked out of her mind.
Oh, yeah.
When she did kind of witness like him hitting her, like she saw basically what looked like in her mind him swerving towards them to actually try to hit them. So in her
but it was
mind,
just, she was
like,
asleep at the
this mofo's trying to kill me. He's actually trying to murder.
And like it does have a good sense of mystery, because in the flashbacks, it's filmed in a way that it could have been his car, it could not have been his car. So until it's revealed that there is actually blood on the hood of his car, you're not sure if he actually hit her or not.
Yeah.
Just because like the damage isn't as much as you think it would be to his car, and it creates a good sense of mystery of, did he actually hit her? Did he not? Mm-hmm. Is it just a coincidence that he hit a bump and then when he turned around to see what it was, they were there? So it really kind of builds mystery and tension really well that way. I do have a note here that says "goddamn stupid druggies," because that was really the most frustrating part of it. Seriously. She's in the middle of this terrifying situation and just snorts a whole bunch of cocaine.
Yeah, she's
like, is that really the smartest thing to do?
When I'm feeling sad, time to get glad.
Yeah. But like when Herman realizes that he did hit her, like there is legitimate pain in his eyes. Like throughout the majority of the movie up until that point, he was in doubt, and he's like, "There's no way I hit her." Mm-hmm. There's no blood on the car or anything, and then he actually does see the blood on the car, and you could tell that he is distraught. It's not just like
he feels hella bad.
Yeah. And then I also put, maybe stop doing cocaine with your friends when your friends are lost.
I put, I'm actually surprised that it took him so long to snap.
Yeah.
I would have done it like, just, you know what? Just fuck it, man.
I'm just going to go through some of my, I had a lot of fun with these notes
I didn't write too much because like I enjoyed the movie, but it wasn't enough for me to like nitpick. That's the thing. Or anything
When you're enjoying a movie, it's kind of hard to stop and take a note or anything. But I put cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
I kept thinking of the "Why are you running" meme. You know which one I'm talking about?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I guess it's like an African movie or something, or TV show, and this woman's running away from a car, and the guy gets out of the car. He's like, "Why are you running? Why are you running?" I just kept thinking of that, and it kept laughing. But when they finally catch up, you think there's an understanding between them. She finally stops running, and then his wife calls. And when he says that he ran over a dog, that is like a great oh shit moment. It's like he finally realizes.
He really did.
He finally realizes that he's really not going to get away with it. So he just snaps and decides to be the person,
take it into his own hands.
Exactly. He decides to be the person that his wife inadvertently told him to be. Like, she didn't tell him to go out and kill people, but she was just like, you need to stop letting people take over your life and everything. And then also, kind of self-fulfilling prophecies. Like, she already thinks you're a murderer, so why not just be a murderer and murder her?
The only other real note that I had was that Julian Velagran, the guy who played Herman, the main character here, he looks like a mix of Ray Fiennes and Liam Neeson, like a little Spanish version, and it's freaking me out.
Oh, yeah. I could
Mainly
see that. But
Ray Fiennes. Like, I think it was the scene where he's like super distraught that he finally realized, and then he's like got that emotional scene. I was like, that looks like Ray Fiennes so bad.
Oh, yeah. But I just loved how his character evolved throughout the movie, You were really on his side the entire time, and as terrible as it is, you're kind of on his side when he snaps too. Like,
at least I was. I don't know about
obviously,
you.
like, if it were real, you'd be like, this is fucked up. But in the sense of the movie, you really just, like, you're tired of this girl who's not listening to reason. She's high out of her mind on cocaine, and whether inadvertently or on purpose, they really made her super annoying, and you're just like, okay, just kill her at this point. And it's terrible, but
it was probably on purpose, because that's how they set her whole character up. Was just this rebellious teen who doesn't listen. You kind of want
him to get away with it in a way, and he does get away with it. He it jumps to a year later at his daughter's next birthday party, and he's watching the news, and the news comes on and it says those two girls were found dead, and their boyfriends that they were with were sought as the suspects of it.
Yeah, the lead suspects.
Yeah, so he really, at least at that point, has gotten away with it. And the thing I love, his wife, the night that he comes home, finds Sylvia's phone, or it might have been Estella's phone. I can't remember.
It was Sylvia's.
Gloria, not Estella.
It was Sylvia's because her mom called her.
It was Sylvia. So she finds her phone, and then the police come, and she just rolls with the lie. Mm-hmm. So like she knows it happened, and is still sticking with him. So it really kind of. I thought that was super interesting. I don't know like what her character was thinking, but like she was oddly fine with it, and I felt like it worked. It did kind of come out.
Her husband was changing into the man that she wanted him to be, or her.
Even though it was
what?
Probably the exact opposite. Yeah, but yeah, it really kind of made her character more dark and had like a more violent implication than maybe it was intended. But that was really interesting to me. This movie is I really enjoyed it. I really don't understand what everyone's problems with it are. A few reviews. One here says poor movie, doesn't make sense.
I was literally looking at that one. Like it makes sense.
Like what doesn't make sense about it? Like it's a pretty simple plot. It's nothing super complicated. So I'm really not understanding everyone's problem with this movie.
It was a good movie. Yeah. Definitely a solid recommend when you're looking for a deep dive into that Netflix account of yours and you don't know what to watch.
And it's not.
Also, did you watch it in Spanish? I watched it in Spanish.
I did, yeah. It started with the English dub.
With the English dub, and I'm like, oh.
And then, I switched it over as soon as that happened. I was like,
Because they had the neighbor, I think it was the neighbor, they had him sound like Dennis from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and I was like, what? Whoa.
He definitely did.
¡Pare, por favor! ¡Oiga! ¿Es amiga tuya? Te juro que no he sido yo. Ese golpe ya lo tenía. Por favor, déjame hablar.
You know, this movie gets shit on all over the place, and then segue, we have movies like Bird Box.
That's a good segue.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're talking about Bird Box now.
Yeah. Oh, do you have anything else to say about Cuando Los Angeles Duermen?
No, I have nothing else to say. It was a good movie. Solid.
Yeah, solid. So let's get into Bird Box.
Where are you? Please don't take my children. Please don't take my children!
How have you been feeling? Have you been sleeping any better?
Oh, rough. Then again, I never slept well before this condition.
Condition? It's called pregnancy. It's okay to say it out loud. Something's happened.
Can you just please drive?
Did you see something?
Come inside!
Bird Box, the Netflix original movie, directed by Susan. I'm assuming that's Beer. If it's Bear,
Yeah, it is beer. It's beer.
Directed by Susan Beer, and stars Sandra Bullock, Trevante Rhodes, and John Malkovich.
Ooh.
And the plot of this good old movie is 5 years after an ominous unseen presence drives most of society to suicide, a mother and her 2 children make a desperate bid to reach safety. So much better than the synopsis IMDb gave When Angels Sleep.
Well, I mean, When Angels Sleep doesn't even have a Rotten Tomato score, so.
So, obviously, I picked this movie because it was being memed and just went viral for
It's
the most ridiculous reasons in the world.
Yeah,
so I figured let's give it a gander.
I think that was a good choice. That's kind of why I threw it second, because
let's see this movie where they can't see in the movie.
So this movie really just jumps on into it, like no setup, no nothing. It's just like, oh, you're gonna go down this river to find us. Wear your blindfolds at all times, blah, 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 etc. Kind of a sloppy intro, in my opinion.
Yeah, listen, right off the bat, and this is what killed me. They set up who the characters were in the boat, and then you know that nobody else that is going to be throughout the beginning of this movie is going to be with them. Like, sure, there's a possibility, but, like, we already have the 3 characters that we're going to see at the end of the movie. Yeah. And we know pretty much everybody else is dead.
And it's so there's really no tension at that point. They immediately get rid of all tension.
Yeah.
And the fact that the boy and girl are named boy and girl is ridiculous. Like, I know they're trying to make her seem detached and show that she is trying to at least have the facade that she doesn't care about these kids.
Yeah, but then the rest of the movie, she's communicating with people. She's like being like a household with these people, and like so like the fact that she's being unhinged from these kids and just calling them boy and girl instead of giving them actual names. Meanwhile, you got her actually like being a part of a whole not family unit, but like a society of this house.
Yeah,
it's kind of redundant.
It's very redundant. Like it doesn't show that she cares the way she does throughout the rest of the movie. She's pregnant, but she doesn't really want to have the kid.
Yeah.
But also, it doesn't show you enough where she would just name them boy and girl. And honestly, like this is based on a book written by Josh Malerman, and it's probably the same way in the book. But like when you read someone being called boy and girl, it's not as laughable as when you hear someone calling them boy and girl. consistently, not just like every now and then, just like she says it quite a bit. She's like, boy, girl, where are you? And it's laughable. You know, it's, I know it's not supposed to be. It's not a comedy. It's drama, horror, sci-fi, according to IMDb. And it felt lazy. Like you could have named them something and shown that she was detached. Like you could have named them like water and tree, and that would have been just as detached as calling them boy and girl.
Yeah, well, they waited until the end of the movie to give them actual names, and
which was completely predictable what they were going to be called at the end.
And then, of course, you didn't feel anything as soon as like she did. Like, you're like, okay, I kind of saw that coming.
Mm-hmm. So the two kids, boy is Sandra Bullock's kid, and then girl is another pregnant woman's kid who dies essentially right after she gives birth. And she names girl in the end Olympia after her mom.
Is it Olivia?
Olympia, like the
was that
Olympus?
her name?
Yeah, Olympia.
I thought it was Olivia the whole time.
No, Olympia. I watch with subtitles because.
Oh no.
And so. Yeah, that's cute and all, but the mom said she wanted to name her daughter Ella, like it's Cinderella.
Like Cinderella, yeah.
Yeah, and like that would have been. That's who we thought it was going to be eventually. So I guess that wasn't so predictable as naming boy Tom was, but I feel like it would have been more impactful if they named her the name that her mom wanted her to have. You know. Otherwise, what's the point of that fucking comment? Like it's just that scene where she talks about what she wants to name them it's pointless.
There's no reason for it at all.
Yeah, exactly. This movie felt a lot like The Happening, and while I admit I like The Happening, it is a bad movie.
Oh yeah, I connected this movie more with The Happening. Like a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is Quiet Place," or like naming all these other horror movies. I'm like, no, it's
The Happening.
Pretty much The Happening. It's literally The Happening.
Yeah, like if I were M. Night Shyamalan, I'd think about making a lawsuit or something.
Yeah.
But it's it was just so unintentionally comical. Like when everyone's like running around and there's explosions happening behind them, it's shot in such a way that just kind of made me laugh, and it's awkward, and I don't know, it just felt very.
Some of it felt awkward. I felt like the ones where like she was jumping in the car that was on fire. I was like, ooh, oh, all right.
Yeah, there was good.
There were certain ones they did that were fun.
like when Sandra Bullock's sister, played by Sarah Paulson, dies. Mm-hmm. That was really impactful too, but like pretty much anyone other than main characters, whenever they died, it was just kind of funny.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just a sick motherfucker, but it didn't have the impact that I felt like it was trying to have on me.
Yeah.
But this movie, as you can tell, we've been saying a lot of names like Trevante Rhodes, John Malkovich, Sarah Paulson. This movie's filled with a lot of cast of, oh hey, it's him, or oh hey, it's her.
Guy.
Yeah. Like they got Jackie Weaver, Rosa Salazar, Danielle McDonald, Lil Rel Howery, Tom Hollander, Machine Gun Kelly, also known as Colson Baker.
Seriously, Machine Gun Kelly. Machine Gun Kelly, where the fuck?
He was terrible, by the way. And then B.D. Wong was also in it from Jurassic Park. B.D. Wong.
Yeah, out of nowhere.
So like, I know every single person in this cast, which makes it that much more of a movie and not as much of an immersive experience. Pretty much the only people I didn't know were boy and girl. Everyone else I've seen somewhere, and I know that it's my job to suspend disbelief. But when you're seeing John Malkovich and just thinking of him getting in the head with a beer can and being John Malkovich, it's kind of hard to get into the movie. So I wasn't a huge fan of the casting, although I do like all of them separately.
Hey there, fuckface.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Just waiting for stuff like that.
But this movie is kind of filled with a lot of improbabilities too. My friend Alex Bird wanted me to talk about this. They go down the river blindfolded for 48 hours and barely crash or tip over at all.
Yeah,
and
Go ahead. Sorry.
when they do, it's like resolved immediately. Boy falls out of the boat at one point and gets picked up 15 seconds later.
Yeah, nobody gets hurt or anything like that. They're just sopping wet.
Yeah, then their boat gets tipped over in the rapids, and guess what? They find them in like 30 seconds, find boy and girl in 30 seconds, and then they are within walking distance of the place they were supposed to be. How convenient.
The whole, I mean, I'll say this one first, but even in the radio transmission, they even said, hey, we've lost people to this. So
yeah,
be careful. You're going to need some people.
Yeah.
And then I feel like you remember that whole Belle scene in the woods? I feel like this would have been the scene that would have made that more impactful, because the girl could have gotten lost, had to like mosey on somewhere, and then like it's just Boy and Sandra Bullock. And then when she uses that bell, that would have been more impactful than that whole scene in the woods. In my opinion.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. Can you clarify? I'm sorry.
All right. So, you remember the bell? She gave her a bell?
Yeah.
All right. So the scene in the woods where Sandra Bullock loses boy and girl.
Yeah.
And then the monsters are like, hey, take your blindfolds off, kids. Mm-hmm. Just take your blindfolds. It would have been more impactful if the bell was used during the river part when they flipped over. So girl would have gotten lost in the woods somewhere trying to find them after the whole flipping. And then that bell would have been used. That would have been more impactful than the whole scene in the woods.
Oh, yeah. I would agree with that. Absolutely. And how long does it take them to take off their goddamn blindfolds? There's like a 2-minute sequence where they're trying to take off their blindfolds, and Sandra Bullock's like trying to persuade them not to. My whole problem with this movie is kind of how it was shot. Too much information is revealed to us. Like, when you see, there's a scene in the grocery store where they hear someone pounding on the loading dock door, and he's like begging to come in. But then you see, like, from his perspective, his hand and everything, and you're like, oh, it is a human. You know, they didn't really toy with the idea that these creatures can mimic voices and trick people into believing.
There wasn't a lot of lore behind the creatures either. It was
there
just,
wasn't.
Hey, here's the creatures. They're mocking people and they're murdering you.
Yeah, and it changes perspective too often. Kind of like you see too much when they're blindfolded for us to really feel suspense, you know? Like, you know they're going to be fine with where they're walking. First of all, they're way too good at walking with blindfolds on. I guess maybe you would be after doing it for 5 years, but it didn't feel natural. It felt like super rehearsed and well thought out, and which, I mean, it was super rehearsed and well thought out, but it did not have much suspense. And kind of comparing it to When Angels Sleep, the lack of music in When Angels Sleep added tension, but Bird Box overcompensates with music, where it's just like, oh, this is intense enough. We need to add like a swell and all of that. And it detracts more than it adds, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I guess going back to like what the monsters can and can't do, like when Tom Hollander's character, that whole thing had me really confused, man. Mm-hmm. Like, so
Tom Hollander's character, you said?
Yeah.
Although I thought he was the best actor in the entire movie.
Oh, he usually is.
Bad. Yeah, not that they were bad, but the writing was so bad that it kind of made everyone feel super weak acting wise. I know they're working the best with what they have, but like nothing felt natural. It all felt like acting. I had a couple of dots for his character. Sure.
The first one being like, I'm confused about like what the monsters can and can't do, like as far as or mainly can do. So they have basically, I guess, possessed this guy and then I guess let him go and let him have like free will and then repossessed him, or like he wanted to see them again. Yeah,
like no one else had that where they could change it to be able to persuade people.
Yeah, he basically became a secret agent or like a double agent, and then there was the whole scene after that.
Yeah, everyone else was possessed, and they were just like, come see them, like, right away. He made up this whole elaborate story that he was being chased by those people. So, yeah, why was he the only one that could do that?
So there's that for me, and then I have another one. Like, I wish they would have, instead of like the illustrations that Tom Hollander's character did for the monsters, I wish they would have, at least when you see through the points of views the people who are like possessed, I don't even know a better word to describe it, was possessed by these things. I wish they would have shown the monsters through their eyes. That way, like instead of the people who can't see them or like aren't seeing them, like they're just invisible. But when you see them through the people who can see them, I wish they like would have gave like at least like a figure or something, not like the actual monster itself, but instead of just illustrations. But that's me. And then there's a moment of tension between Tom Hollander's character and Travante's character, where like they've got a shotgun pointed at Travante.
Oh my god, yeah.
And like you already know what's gonna happen, even though like the gun's pointed at Travante, and like you're just like,
the gun's pointed at Travante, and Tom Hollander has his finger on the trigger.
Yeah.
Yet somehow they're too lazy to come up with a way to make it have sense, so they cut to a room, and you just hear a gunshot. Somehow, Travante Rhodes got the gun and killed Tom Hollander.
Somehow got out of that.
Yeah.
And then I had a lot of nitpicks with, like you said, Tom Hollander was the best part of one of the best parts of this movie.
Yeah. I would say Tom Hollander and Sarah Paulson were my favorite parts.
Yeah, but like for some reason, the scenes they gave him, like they just, like when he stabbed John Malkovich in the chest, those were, and at least in my eyes, bad blood effects. Those were super runny blood. Super
corny and runny, and
and we've had experience with that, but
yeah. And then like the part where he pries Jackie Weaver's eyes open, that was honestly like the most intense part of the entire movie. Like so he was the best part of the movie. Like he made the movie better for the 15-20 minutes he was in it.
Yeah, I think that's all I got for Tom Hollander's character. But yeah, man, what the heck, man?
Yeah, it's just my biggest problem with this is probably the cinematography. It's shot in a way that gets rid of any tension. I said that before, but it's all wide shots when it should be close-ups. Like whenever Sandra Bullock has the blindfold on and is trying to find something, it should be close up on her so you don't see anything, or like cut to see like to where she needs to be and then have her walk past it. But like, no, they have these super wide shots and then she immediately goes to where she needs to go. And there's no tension building. It's sloppy. There's this part where this girl puts on a rope around her waist because she's going to go try to help Mallory, which is Sandra Bullock's character. And it looks like she's going to put on a noose for a second. Like, I was like, is she killing herself? And then it's just really sloppy and I'm going to check to see if this cinematographer has made anything else, because I just was not impressed. I mean, it looks good, but the choices of shots is not that good. And he did Spider-Man: Homecoming and Everest, so compared to those two movies, this is real sloppy. I was just not impressed with that. And that might have been a directorial thing and not so much director of photography, but like many conflicts that they have and impending threats they're just resolved super quickly. Like nothing is built up and then takes time. It's just
not
like
enough actual tension there.
Yeah, it's like it felt like every chapter of the book had a impending threat or conflict, and then was it was fixed within that chapter, and then they just did that in the movie too. And it just. I was just not a fan. Yeah. It was okay. I mean, but, kind of like with The Haunting of Hill House, with how much people were talking this movie up, it was just super disappointing.
Overhyped.
Yeah.
I got a couple more. I kind of go through real quick. So
go for it.
It kind of fast forwards like years after the whole situation started, and then it's just basically it's boy girl, Trevante Rhodes and Sandra Bullock, and I don't know what meal plan they're on, but Trevante Rhodes is still fucking jacked after like 4 or 5 years after.
He's eating purely venison that he hunts by himself by hand.
And eats the whole thing by himself. And he's got like his beard all shaped up still instead of like a scraggle. I mean, listen, good for him, man. He's still looking after himself. But if you're going to put me in a movie where it's a dystopia and fucking
make it
people
look
are
like a
dead
dystopia.
and you're eating canned food, my man should have a beard and should lose weight. I mean,
they have power and water service the entire time too.
There was no physical change to these people after 5 years.
Or the landscape. There's nothing changed other than the road being riddled with bodies and cars.
And like this is obviously the first idea that's like I Am Legend, where like it's New York overgrown. There's like no, they're just in the woods.
And could kind of going back to the showing too much thing, could you imagine how intense the scene where they black out the windows and drive to the grocery store would be if it only stayed in the car?
Yeah.
And this is kind of a problem with having straight to Netflix movies where the majority of people aren't going to watch it with surround sound. Because they could have really worked with sound design there.
Yeah, they could have.
Where like it stays in the car and you just hear noises behind you, next to you, in front of you, all of that. And the people are just reacting. And even with like the new sound systems that have the speakers overhead, you could have it come that way. And I was just thinking how great that scene would have been if it was just stayed in the car and it was surround sound.
I mean, to be fair, if they worked with this movie a little bit more, it like would have had potential to be pretty good. Like,
it's a decent story.
Had potential to be like. I mean, I know you enjoy The Happening. I haven't seen it since it came out, but it could have been a way better version of The Happening.
I enjoy it because it's bad, and what people don't often admit does have pretty good imagery, but it is a bad movie, and but I also acknowledge that it's probably meant to be bad because M. Night Shyamalan, even before it came out, said it was meant to be like an homage to B movies.
Yeah. This movie, if they spent like another couple of months or at least like a year just on the script and polishing it a little bit, this movie could have been really good.
Yeah,
and especially I'm sure it's in theaters near me. Everything's freaking in theaters near me. Apparently,
it was in Philly for a while.
But yeah, I mean that would have been great. And then towards the end, that scene I was talking about in the woods, where they're near this place, this safe haven, and they talk about how there's like birds that chirp. Like they'd be like, "Hey, when you know you're getting close, you'll hear a lot of birds." That's how you know. And like they're right outside the place, basically, like when they're all separated, and you don't hear a single goddamn bird until after like they overcome the monsters and find each other.
Yeah,
like but the whole point of the birds chirping was to let them know that there's the things nearby, and they don't chirp the whole time these things are nearby. So that killed me a little bit inside.
Yeah.
I feel like I have just a few more. I feel like the ending was played way too safe. And also, why is there a school for the blind in the middle of the woods? That's just me.
They made it seem like, granted, I could see this probably being better in the book. They did establish that there were like gangs of people that would like hunt other people down. Mm-hmm. So I could see them wanting to avoid the road.
Yeah.
But they also did not establish that. Well enough. They didn't establish, you got to stay off the road to avoid these gangs. They established that those gangs exist. They didn't establish anything else really.
Not Tom Hollander. Trevante Rhodes, his character like kind of makes a sacrifice for these for Sandra Bullock, boy and girl, to like get away. And for like a glimpse of a moment, like he mentions that he had military training. For a like glimpse of a moment, you get to see like his military training. Mm-hmm. But it's all basically wasted like immediately. Because obviously he's got his blindfold off to take care of business. Yeah. And then shoots himself in the goddamn brain. Yeah. Actually, chin up, big boy.
That's really the two main things I have to say is that the actors did not have much to work with, and therefore it kind of felt like they were phoning it in. And then conflicts are resolved way too quickly, so it doesn't have much time for tension to be built, and that's ultimately where I feel like this movie kind of fails and is lackluster.
And then the last thing I have to say about this movie is that the reason I feel like this movie is unforgivable is because I had to see MGK's ass.
Oh yeah, is it Machine Gun Kelly? I'm not hipping with it, so I didn't know.
Or I'm sorry, Coulson Baker.
Coulson Baker, yeah.
But that whole thing was unforgivable. You line up this like relationship thing, like, oh, it's never gonna happen, and then it does happen.
Yeah.
And then you make me see Machine Gun Kelly's ass.
I didn't even know who he was until he did like that song about Eminem.
Yeah.
Which
Most
honestly,
people
the fact that people do, I don't even know what it's called when they do songs that just talk shit on another rapper.
It's a diss track.
Yeah, diss tracks are kind of just a stupid thing and need to be stopped.
I think it was mainly a marketing thing.
Oh, for him, absolutely.
Yeah.
But like with Drake and Meek Mills, like why? Who cares? Who gives a shit what you think about someone else? Like,
yeah.
I don't understand it. I just don't understand hip hop in general. But that's just
a whole nother topic.
My almost 30-year-old self. So
let's see. I know we just ripped this movie apart, but I mean, I didn't have the worst time with this movie. I feel like it obviously could have been better.
No, it was no Haunting of Hill House, but granted, it also wasn't 10 hours long.
No, it wasn't. We just ripped it apart, but obviously we wanted to shut the people who were overhyping this shit down so hard.
No,
it wasn't a terrible movie, but
like
why overhype movies that aren't as good as they should be?
I don't even like it when like the Oscars overhype movies. And those movies somewhat deserve it. I prefer it when people are given the chance to be like, hey, you should check this out. I really enjoyed it. That's all you need to say. And then you can have a more in-depth conversation after you watch it. But like people, it is very memeable, so I'll give it that. The whole blindfold thing, and Netflix had to release a statement saying to not do the Bird Box challenge. Honestly, let people do the Bird Box challenge as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else. If they hurt themselves, fucking the Darwin effect. Like,
what is it? Them blindfolding themselves?
Yeah, people are blindfolding themselves and doing stupid shit. Like,
well, yeah,
Darwinism.
That's I didn't know about that. So Jesus Christ,
I didn't know about it until Netflix released a statement to not do it.
Oh my god.
But that's all I gotta say.
That's all I've got too.
Yeah, it's just mediocre.
Listen to me. We are going on the trip now. It's going to be rough. Hold on! If you hear something in the woods, you tell me. If you hear something in the water, you tell me. But under no circumstance are you allowed to take off your blindfold.
Did you hear that? The creatures.
So, let's get into the judgments, Glenjamin Button. Let's start with When Angels Sleep. What do you have to say? What do you think about it, When Angels Sleep?
I actually want you to go first for this one.
Okay. So, does When Angels Sleep, or Cuando de los Angeles, whatever, Cuando, When Angels Sleep, does it deserve to go on the shelf? I really enjoyed it. Honestly, more so than I really thought, especially after seeing the 5.4. It did start off slow and kind of was repetitive, but at the end, I was digging this movie. And I like kind of showing people movies that don't get as much credit as they deserve and are overshadowed by other movies like Bird Box. Mm-hmm. Not that you can really compare the two, but most people have not seen When Angels Sleep, according to Rotten Tomatoes, not enough to even have a score. So my whole thing is whenever I think about this shelf. I want to put movies on there, A, that really deserve it, and B, deserve more credit than they get. So I will say yes, it should go on the shelf, and that's my reason. Oh no.
Oh no.
Not the breath.
See, you got me here. I'm on the line. Like both feet are on the line, and I don't know which way to step. Backwards, I don't put it on the shelf. Mainly, that's not me saying that I'm going to step backwards. It's
you're setting it up.
Backwards, I thought this movie was good, but then again, I didn't put that movie last week on the shelf, and I feel like I should have. But and I feel like this movie, it's hard to tell, man. It's really hard. And then forwards, like everything you just said, it was really good. It deserves more credit than it should get. And man, am I stuck on this line so hard? I'm gonna step forward.
Woo! All right. I'm glad you did. And kind of going back about The Endless, that's the movie you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
The Endless, after like 6 months, or like every 20, 25 episodes or something, we should have like a catch-up episode where we kind of go back over what's on the shelf, what didn't make the shelf, and re-judge.
Re-give it
after
a chance.
time. Yeah, but we'll do that later. But so as of now, When Angels Sleep makes it onto the shelf along with all the other movies that, there's too many now that I really want to name. So yeah, let's move on to Bird Box. That's a hard no for me, and that's all I'm going to say about it. I feel like I said everything I need to.
I'm on the lines, man. I'm on the lines. If I take a step forward, that means I don't have a blindfold on and I'm going to kill myself. So I'm going to step back. That does not belong on the shelf. Fuck off, Bird Box. Fuck off.
So Bird Box unanimously does not make it onto the shelf. And,
its memes are really funny, but it does not deserve to be on the shelf.
We tore this movie up, but I really just want to reiterate, if you love this movie, love this movie. Don't listen to us. Love what you love.
We even said that it wasn't as bad as we were giving it shit for.
Yeah. That's kind of my whole thing with Keystone Film Review. I want to let people know what I think, shed more light on movies that deserve more light, but also let people know to make their own opinions. So if you haven't seen Bird Box, I'm sorry that we spoiled it for you, but we did give you that warning. Watch it and make your own opinion. Same with When Angels Sleep. If you were one of the 50% of people that don't seem to like this movie, whatever. Don't listen to people on the internet tell you what to think. Do you, boo-boo. You do you. So, When Angels Sleep makes it onto the shelf. Bird Box does not, but we got 2 more movies for next week. Glenn, what movie have you picked for us to watch Netflix. Next
Believe
week.
it or not, it's not on Netflix.
Neither. I went out of my way to pick one not on Netflix.
I did too. So I had checked your Letterboxd and I didn't see that you saw this movie. So hopefully you didn't, unless you just missed it for some reason. So this one is going to be a little bit of a jump. Exactly 20 years now from today. Not today, but this year. 20 years ago, there was a movie that Sam Raimi directed. Stars Bridget Fonda, Billy Bob Thornton, and Bill Paxton. It is called A Simple Plan.
A Simple Plan.
A Simple Plan. Not the 2000s
How could this
grunge
happen
emo
to
band.
me?
Not that one. No.
I made my mistakes.
And that is going to be on Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. All right.
It says it's included with Prime, so we don't have to pay jack.
Cool.
Squat. Simple Plan. 3 diverse characters, for the most part intellectually challenged, find a deserted plane with a bag full of millions of dollars inside. They devise a simple plan to keep the money. If no one claims it, of course, nothing turns out simple.
Have you seen this movie?
I have not.
You have not. You just made sure
I went
that
out
I
of my
didn't.
way to think that we shouldn't go on Netflix and that we both haven't seen it.
Okay. So, if I'm honest, I don't know. Have you seen... I want to make sure you haven't seen the movie that I picked before I solidify that.
I had 2 or 3, so that's the one I picked. So hit me with them. Hit me with what you got.
Have you seen Hereditary?
I have.
You have seen Hereditary?
Yes.
Well, shit. You know what? Fuck it. I want to talk about it anyway. We're going to do Hereditary.
Okay, that's on Amazon, right?
That is on Amazon, correct. So That is written and directed by Ari Aster, starring Tony. Oh, I hit my mic.
You know
starring
what, this actually works out because Kier did want to see it.
Perfect.
So,
starring Toni Collette, Alex Wolff, Gabriel Byrne, and Millie Shapiro. After a family matriarch passes away, a grieving family is haunted by tragic and disturbing occurrences and begin to unravel dark secrets. So, Hereditary is the other movie. We got A Simple Plan and Hereditary. Both are on Amazon Prime. And you know what? I'm excited to rewatch Hereditary. I haven't seen it since it was in theaters, so.
Me too, actually.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
I think I remember texting you that day and be like, oh my God.
You know, I remember that now. I shouldn't have picked it. But you know what? I'd rather watch this than the backup one I had, so.
Were you going to pick it for next week? Or
no, we'll see.
We'll see. Throw it in my face?
I'll throw it in your face after we stop recording.
Okay.
Just to not confuse people. But that is it for this week's movies. Join us next week again when we talk about Hereditary and A Simple Plan. As always, you can follow us on Keystone, on Instagram, at Keystone_film_review. We're also on Facebook, Keystone Film Review, although we don't really post much on there. And then on Letterboxd, I am Mike KFR.
And I am Glenn KFR.
And that will do it for this week. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.
Boy.
Girl.
Girl.
Mallory!